Have you been experiencing internal financial struggles triggered by economic concerns? Are you feeling capped at your current income level and can't seem to realize your financial potential? Energy healer Gene Border has created an emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping protocol to help calm the inner voice that keeps you stressed. Claim your free copy at geneborder.com/vow and say goodbye to those financial blockages. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Gene Border. It's not just about dreaming, it's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Gene Border, with another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, where we talk everything business with a focus on energy work, mindset work, and the psychology behind why we do what we do and the decisions that we make and how that impacts not only our personal life, but also our business decisions. Before we get started, I have a really cool guest here today. This is going to be an interesting interview with Kyle Coon. But first off, I want to remind everyone down in the below in the show notes, or for those who are just listening, geneborder.com/vow, V-O-W. For those of you who are into EFT tapping, there is a tapping protocol down there that's targeting money tension. If you have any big money decisions coming up, if you're feeling stress about the state of the economy or your community's financial situation or your family's financial situation, it's probably in your best interest to make any financial decisions from a place of calm rather than tension or reaction. So if you click on the PDF below, there's a tapping protocol that will help you calm down your central nervous system so you don't react, but you act logically and in line with your values and your plan for your future. And I just did a tapping protocol. For those of you who are watching the video, you can tap along with those points that you just saw me hit on my body. geneborder.com/vow. Let me know how it goes for you. And now on with the show. We have Kyle Coon here today, who I've never met, but is a really interesting person. I looked him up online, and I get a lot of behind-the-scenes information before we go on to these interviews. Really looking forward to this one. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Gene. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So tell the listeners a little bit about you, who you are.
Oh, my goodness. Well, gather around the fire, children. It is story time. um, I love coming on and just sharing my story, but a little bit of background about me, just to give your listeners a little bit of context. So I actually lost my sight when I was 6 years old. I had a rare form of eye cancer called retinoblastoma, and I was actually diagnosed with it when I was 10 months old, and went through the majority of my early years, from that 1 year old to up to 6, 7 years old, just going through cancer treatment and in and out of hospitals, and dealing with the reality of I would respond well to treatment, but then the cancer would come back stronger than ever, until finally, eventually, the only way to really get rid of the cancer permanently was to remove my eyes. So we had my left eye removed just after I turned 5, and my right eye removed just before I turned 7. And as I'm sure many of your listeners can relate, being a 6, 7-year-old kid who had been active, just wanting to get better, to go out, so they could go out play with friends and stuff. I was a little bit on the shall we say, downswing. I was not exactly a happy child after losing my sight, but I was very fortunate to get connected with the right people, in particular the right person, to kind of help put me on the uh, the path of, you know, getting back to being able to, live a life without limits. And the gentleman that I met not too long after I lost my sight, his name is Eric Weinmeier, and he eventually went on to become the first blind man to climb Mount Everest and the seven summits, and wrote a handful of best-selling books, and is a well-known speaker, and does keynote addresses to companies across the world. But back when I met him, he was just a to me, he was just an adult blind guy who had gone through something similar. And so he kind of sat me down, told me a little bit about his story, and, planted a seed of inspiration or motivation in my mind that, if he can go on to become a pretty cool person and live a no barriers life, then, maybe I could do the same. And so fast forward on from there, I got into competitive rock climbing, which spiraled into just overall outdoor adventure activities. And, that led into, competitive sports. And, eventually, we just went down the road of, school and college and all that kind of stuff until I wound up, here where I am today. I'm, now I'm a two-time Paralympian, author, professional speaker, podcaster, and exactly what to say certified guide. So that's me in a very brief nutshell, with a lot of bumps and bruises along the road.
Wow, so much there. I don't have your experience of life. So it's interesting to me how the world how do I say this? You experience the world differently, because I rely on my sight so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I have I've had to rely on, my other senses, whether that be my hearing, my sense of smell, my sense of touch, my taste, all of those. And, a big misconception about blindness is that, all of your other senses become like enhanced. It's not exactly true. I just like to say that because we have to rely on those senses, we just get more in tune with them. I wish I could, sniff a glass of wine and tell you exactly all the properties that go into making that, but I am not a sommelier. There are people that are significantly better at that than me. I don't have supersonic hearing, but because I have to rely on my hearing so much, yeah, I have to. I pay attention, and I'm paying attention to a variety of different things that are going on around me in the world, and translating all of those into forming a picture of what's going on.
Yeah, the two words that you said there was what I was thinking the entire time, which was pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
We all pick and choose what we pay attention to, and our priority as to what's important can shift with our circumstance. So in certain situations, it's probably, I'm guessing, again, I don't have your reality as a reference point. Sometimes touch is probably most important, and other times it may be that sound is more important. Like from a spatial point of view, when you're trying to figure out where you are, what the ground is like. Is that true, or that's just my perception?
No, you're 100% correct there. It's all dependent on, one of my favorite sayings, is one acronym for the word focus is, follow one course until successful, or, you get what you focus on, or, if you don't have a destination, you kind of meander, and that kind of leads to one of the things that I speak a lot about is keep an eye on your vision. So again, like we get we we get to where we want to go by knowing where we want to go. It's it's not just you know you know sure we can we can go and explore and just you know enjoy a destination, but when we're talking about entrepreneurship or small or success in small business or anything along those lines, uh we have to know where we want to go and what to focus on at certain times. So a lot of what we were just talking about here, being able to pay attention and knowing exactly what are the tools that I have at my disposal and what tool is appropriate. Just like all the various senses we have. Are we relying too much on our sight at this time? There are times when smell is more important, taste is more important, sound is more important to everyone. I mean, just imagine if we're at a dinner party, and you've gathered your friends around the dinner table, and you bring out this just beautifully laid out platter of meat, a meat and cheese board, or a charcuterie board. You display it. It's all pretty and beautiful. But then someone picks up a piece of cheese, bites into it, and it tastes like wax. What's more important at that point? The waxy cheese or the beautiful the beautiful way you've laid out the charcuterie board. So again, we're our senses, smell, touch, taste, sound, sight, they're tools. And just like a hammer, a knife, a scalpel, a wrecking ball, those are all tools. And knowing when to pull those out, when to use them, and how to use them is extremely important.
So, how did you get from being an athlete to now owning and growing a business? What was that journey like for you?
Oh boy. Well, that's quite the story and quite the journey. So I actually so I have to rewind a little bit. So when I graduated from college in 2013, I was a very arrogant 21-year-old. At that point, I had already
Sorry.
I fully embrace and admit my flaws and my arrogance back then. Um, but I graduated from college early. I had had some success as an athlete. I had already been on some stages and given some keynote presentations to Fortune 500 companies. So I kind of had a big head. And I decided that I was just going to apply for every job CEO and above when I graduated from college.
Oh, there you go.
And I quickly figured out that wasn't the way the world worked. And so I started climbing my way down the corporate ladder until I fell off the bottom rung, hit the ground, and started digging a hole. And about a year later, I looked up and I was, deep in debt. I was, 30 or so pounds overweight from when I had graduated college. And I also, was just in a really bad mental space. I was jobless, just had I was at the verge of losing hope. And so I decided that I first needed to get my body back in shape, and then maybe my mind would follow, and then eventually maybe the success in the job hunting realm would follow. And so I decided to just start running because it was really kind of the only thing I could afford to do. All I needed was a pair of shoes. And so I started running, connected with some runners I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time. And the runners that I connected with happened to be triathletes, and they said, running is stupid. You should do triathlon. And well, my dumb self believed them. And And so I wound up going down the path of getting into the sport of triathlon, and eventually did land jobs in the nonprofit world, and then that spun off into working for the federal government for a short time, uh, and then after that I got into sales and marketing consulting, and that kind of stuff as well. And along the way, I just continued to get better and better and better at the sport of triathlon, until in 2018, I got the opportunity to go to a talent identification camp for USA Triathlon, and they tagged me as someone who had some potential to compete at the Paralympic level. And as an Olympic or Paralympic hopeful, and then Olympian or Paralympian, you basically become your own business entity. Um, it's it's a sad fact that most Olympians and Paralympians really do live kind of just above the at or just above the poverty line. It's not everybody is hauling in seven figures, six or seven figures in endorsement deals and contracts and all that. So you have to learn to position yourself and figure out how to basically turn yourself into a business and understand how everything you do related to your sport, also everything around your sport, everything that you do in your life, the people that you surround yourself with, all of that contributes to your business, and your business is you and your sporting career. And so I went down the road of learning that, and that was when I came into contact with a sales trainer named Phil M. Jones, and he wrote this tiny little book called Exactly What to Say. It was this sequence of 23 phrases that speak directly to the subconscious brain. And I fell in love with this book, and I started just reading all of Phil's work, and listening to all of his various audio programs, his YouTube videos, and all that, and eventually got to a point where I reached out and developed a relationship with Phil via social media, and eventually invited me to become one of his certified guides so that I can teach the Exactly What to Say frameworks and everything that goes around knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. So that is a very long-winded explanation of my business is me. I now am a two-time Paralympian. I wrote a book talking about my early life, how I discovered that cancer, blindness, and the mountains all allowed me to discover a way to live my life without limits. And and then now I'm able to share that through through doing corporate trainings, or through doing keynote talks, or running workshops, and helping people figure out exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count.
You said something that is so true for most people, especially when they're just starting their business, and that is you have to figure out that you are the business, and how do you want that to look, and how do you want that to run, and what do you need to do to make that work well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough thing. I talk a lot about having this high performance mindset, or high performance approach to our business. me as a, as an athlete, it makes sense. It makes sense that, every decision I make, every decision I make, person I surround myself with, they have an impact on how I'm going to do in my, chosen sport or competition. Uh, and then I also was, brought up to understand, growing up, we had a family business, and my dad was the one that showed me that, look, this business, if we want it to thrive and survive and thrive and become what we know it can be, uh, we have to own it. We have to become the business. And to this day, people still know us. Each member of our family. So really, at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, how important is it that we succeed in this business? How important, how important is it to us? On that scale of 1 to 10, like 1, it's kind of a cute idea, or 10, it's like, I want that freedom and flexibility. Like, I want that, that drive and that passion of being, my own boss, or, helping other people succeed. Um, so again, like, we're going down a kind of a windy road and path. But at the end of the day, we figure out what motivates us, and I think there are 3 things that motivate people. I think we move toward something that makes us feel more comfortable. More people, more of the time, run away from something that makes them uncomfortable, or we do something that makes our heart sing. And so I would ask your listeners, which of those is driving you in your small business or your entrepreneurial journey? Are you chasing something that you think is going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable? Are you, afraid of something and you're trying to run away from something, or are you doing something that, just makes your heart sing?
Yeah. And when it's my experience, at least, when people are starting out in business,
Hmm.
they have an idea, and maybe it's a passion, or maybe it's just a way to make money,
Hmm.
right? But even then, if it's a way to make money, you're running away from poverty, or from having less than you desire, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And I think it's important to remember, especially when you're starting, that you're building your reputation. So the easy
Absolutely.
money may not be the best for your business, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you know, through the exactly what to say framework, we talk a lot about levels of success. And, my first level of success is in every interaction that I have. So, this interaction with Eugene, have I given myself a good representation of me and my company or my organization? So that's always my first level of success, and that extends to the listeners. Do the listeners feel that I have given a good representation of myself and exactly the exactly what to say certified guide community, a good representation of myself and the Paralympic community, of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So represent, are you, you know, are you who you say you are? Are you being authentic and true to yourself? Do you know, what your values are and what you value? And it all starts right there. is knowing your values as a person, and as a business, because you can build on top of that. And the money will come. But if you start chasing the almighty dollar too quickly, you can get sidetracked and distracted very quickly.
I want to go back to something you said early on, and you used almost the exact words that I use with my clients all the time, that there's a 3-step process to get from where you are to where you want to go. And the first one is becoming aware. Where are you? What don't you like about it? Where do you want to go? What's the gap between those two? Step 2 is focusing on what you've actually decided you want, right? Get clear on it. And number 3 is take action.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's very interesting because that's a very simple, it's a simple 3-step dance. And yeah, like where do you want to go? How are you going to get there? And are you going to take action? And I kind of always speak to it in this way. We have I wake up every day and I basically ask myself, who are the people that I need to be asking more questions of? Because at the end of the day, it's questions that create conversations. Those conversations are going to, lead to us having relationships. Those relationships will then present the opportunities. And then from those opportunities, we have the ability to take action. And so if we can be curious, ask questions of the people around us, ask questions of the people that we want to get to know, we could then reach a position of empathy, and then we can have the courage to take action. Whether that's the courage to ask for a sale, to the courage to take that leap and go into business. But it all starts with, where are we now? Where have we been? Where do we want to go? And you have to, and those are questions, and we have to open it up and have conversations around that.
And so the conversation is a 2-way communication. It's not just you chatting at someone, and it's not just you listening. It's taking it in, seeing what you can utilize, and see how you can help someone else. It also gives you a chance to clarify just what do you want? What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your relationship to look like? What do you want your life to look like? And maybe you like this part of that issue and you like that part of a different issue, but you have the ability and you have the right to pick and choose parts and pieces to create what you want. You just have to have the courage to do it.
Yeah, no, it's we like we keep saying it. Look, communication, it's communication is sender, and if we go down to the real extreme basic nuts and bolts of communication, it's there's a sender, there's a receiver, and then there's noise. So if we so we need to be able to to ask the questions of somebody, and then we need to zip it, listen to their response, and then be able to provide either ask more questions to gain a deeper understanding of where they're coming from, or and like I think it's really important to just if you feel that you're going to start giving advice, maybe just ask three more questions before you give advice. And you can do this with yourself too. You can we can have conversations with ourselves. Uh, you know, one of the things that we talk about and teach is, what is the why behind your what? Why, why did you start? We launched this. You launched this podcast, Gene. Like, why did you launch it? And ask yourself that question. Why 8, 9, 10 times, and get really granular on it. Because when you get really granular, you really find out what drives you, what motivates you, what your passion is. And then that allows you to just get momentum, and then you can't stop at that point.
Yeah, it seems to come up in a lot of workshops that you do the why exercise, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Why do you want to do this? And why is that? And why is that? And why is that? And so you go, you said more, but the typical exercise, at least I've been exposed to, is 7 levels deep. And by the time you get there, you're like fighting to figure out, the very basic principle underneath it.
Yep.
Right. And when you get clear on that, a lot, it can help you focus. Then don't lose sight of that, and keep that as part of you use the word vision, right?
Yep.
What is your vision? Some people are going to business and don't know. I just need more money. But how is that going to support you? Your creative side, the side that's looking for validation internally or externally, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
Yes, it's going to help pay your bills, but there's also expenses associated with starting a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of, the costs or investments, however you want to look at it. There's investing in yourself, in business, and all that. And again, whether you go 7, 8, 9, 10 levels deep on this, asking the why question. Again, it helps you clarify. It helps you clarify, and when we are clear. When we're clear on what our vision is, we have no trouble fighting through the adversity. I liken it back to when when I was making that decision to shift from age group triathlete, amateur, to trying to jump up to the Paralympic level, to the professional ranks. What was my goal? What was my vision? Was it my vision of just wanting to be the best in the world? That wasn't really clear. I needed to drill down deeper and deeper and deeper until I figured out that I wanted to find out what it was like to be going head to head, racing toe to toe with the fastest guys in the world, because I wanted to see what my mind and what my body were capable of competing at the highest possible level that my sport had to offer. And now I take, that same motivation and that same drive into the world of, business, the world of communication, entrepreneurship, and see, where we can take it, in helping others achieve their goals. So yeah, it's you have to, like, if you don't know where you're going, you might get there eventually, but it's going to take a long time. And while it's awesome to enjoy the journey, we also, like, come on, we're high achievers. We want success, and knowing what that success is for each individual, that's how you determine whether you've been successful. It's keep an eye on your vision, and you break it down to doing simple things really well, and then you try to just do those simple things better, and eventually you just move the finish line a little bit. Because at the end of the day, I've never um, achieved a goal and not immediately set one that was harder to achieve.
And that's something that if you don't do that, it's very easy to get jaded. And once you hit your first goal, you've just lost. Like, well, what's next? Well, what? Yeah. And so therefore I did that. But the joy only lasts a small period because we're meant to push ourselves to better ourselves. And something that you said that I think is really important for people is you surrounded yourself with people who you thought were better than you so that you could live up to the standard that you were setting for yourself. And you had those people as someone to motivate you.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I can't remember who said, but a lot of people have said you're the product or reflection of the five people that are closest to you. And look, I wanted to be a high performer and a high achiever. So I went to the place where, so I always seek out those high performers and high achievers. At the beginning of 2019, I moved to the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center to surround myself with athletes that were striving to make the Olympic and Paralympic Games. When I chose to become an Exactly What to Say certified guide, these were people that were handpicked by Phil M. Jones to, that are the best and the brightest in, that he feels are the best and the brightest in, in business and communication, across the board, from real estate to mortgage to finance to athletics, everything. So it's all about, surrounding yourself with the right people, people that, yes, lift you up. It's having your cheerleaders. It's having your role models. It's having your trainers, your mentors, and your aspirational peers. So we have to have each of those on our team to make sure that we ourselves are, striving to do our, to get better every single day. Because one of the something I refer to so often is a quote by Helen Keller. She said, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. It's so true. Whether we're solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we all build a team around us. Nothing is ever done alone. I may have competed in a quote unquote individual sport in triathlon, but I did not get there alone. It took a team effort of, doctors, coaches, teammates, training partners, swimming, biking, and running guides, nutritionists, all kinds of people to get me to 2 Paralympic Games. And the same exists in my business. I have the people that, cheerlead me on, the people that hold me accountable, the role models, the people that I look at and say, they did it, I can do it too. The specific, trainers who help me develop the skills that I need to elevate and perfect my craft. And then also my aspirational, peers or my mentors, mentors being the people that are, they've been there and done it, and now they're passing on their wisdom, but they're not telling me what to do. And then aspirational peers, the people that I want to be like, that are doing the same thing I'm doing, and we're working toward the same goal. Maybe in slightly different, maybe in the same industry, maybe in slightly different industries. So you need all those people on your team to reach your desired level of success.
And that's true in anything you do. Well, you mentioned, I'm just going to throw this out there. I like music. I
Yeah.
I love complex harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I love team building, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
like to have the highest performing team possible. That juices me. Different people like different things. That's one of the things I like.
Yep.
When you get a group of people together to create music, you can have some that are fantastic and some that are okay, but the sound can be so much better when you have the mix of voices.
Yep.
And what you said, the whole is so much more than the singular part.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
The sound is fuller, the sound is beautiful, the sound is complex, but it's also perfect.
It is. Yeah. No, and it's, whether we're talking music, um, whether we're talking business, whether we're talking sport, um, we do all of these, these little things to put these puzzles together to make a beautiful, perfect, cohesive whole. Uh, and the whole is made up of all those imperfections and all the perfections as well. So it takes it takes all kinds of people, of processes, um, and it's up to us as entrepreneurs, as solopreneurs, as leaders to paint that vision and to construct it so that to construct the team and to construct our goals to align with that vision. And if we accomplish the goals if we accomplish the goals, we continue to reset, reevaluate, and keep pushing higher and higher to keep, getting better.
And also to pay attention when something is falling flat, to do course corrections, to
Yep.
not ignore it, because the more you ignore it, the worse it can get.
Absolutely. No, it's look, you got to go in, you know, my dad is, very well respected, entrepreneur, businessman. He always, he told me, especially in life growing up, keep your head on a swivel. You always gotta be, you gotta be looking in all directions. You can't get narrow, you can't get tunnel visioned on stuff. You gotta be able to step back and take a broader view.
Yeah.
So be able to, keep an eye on everything. And then when the time is right, you zero in and lock in and focus when it's necessary. So just like in, like in sport, we say, look, you cannot go, hard all the time. You have specific easy days. You have, specific hard days. You can't go hard on the easy day. You can't go easy on the hard day. You have to do everything at the right time. And if there's an injury, a hiccup, or something along those lines, you pivot, you adjust. And there's no point grinding through something if grinding through it is going to make it worse. So, being able to be agile, to be able to pivot, to adjust the goal or adjust the timeline, that's critical. It's super important.
And knowing that it's okay to fail as long as you're paying attention and you take a step slightly sideways towards a new possibility, because you're not going to do everything right the first time. It doesn't work that way.
It has to be messy before it's beautiful.
There you go.
and, and look, that's that, if I was successful at, if I just had the Midas touch and everything I touched turned to gold and I was successful all the time, I'd get bored so quickly and so easily. I mean, you know, my grandfather always used to tell me that winning is fun. Yeah, winning is a whole lot of fun, but you know, we learn, we learn to win through failure. If everything just comes so easily, then what's the purpose?
Yeah. Yep. I'll agree. So unfortunately, we're getting short on time here.
Oh, we might have to hop back on and do another episode at some point here,
There we
Gina.
go. There we go.
I can go with you all day long. We could do this all day long as far as I'm concerned. But I know your listeners don't have all day long to listen to me yammer.
No, hopefully they got some really good nuggets out of this.
Absolutely.
You have some resources for the listeners. Well, tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, so if you'd like to, follow me, keep up with, the stuff that I do with Exactly What to Say, also, the stuff through my own personal endeavors and so on and so forth. You can follow me on Instagram at Iron Kyle. That's EYERONKYLE. You can find me on Facebook at Kyle Coon Speaks, and then on LinkedIn, Kyle, at linkedin.com/IN/Kyle Coon. You'll find me. I'm across all the social media platforms. But we also, through Exactly What to Say, we have what's called a 31-day challenge, and it's 31 days. Every day, a new challenge pops into your inbox, and they're curated around our Exactly What to Say methodology, our Exactly What to Say phrases. And so you can check that out at exactlywhattosay.com. Just scroll down, click on 31-day challenge. It's a great way to just level up your communication and start to learn a little bit about exactly what to say, when to say it, and how best to make it count. Because at the end of the day, we're all in it to make more of our conversations count instead of just counting up the number of conversations that we have. And so if we can help one more person have a more impactful conversation, we're all about that, because we can indeed change the world just by changing our words.
Cool. And if you didn't catch all that, you can click on the link in the show notes below. I'll take you right to him.
Yep, absolutely.
So do you happen to have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I will leave your listeners with, if you're looking to live without limits, through having this high performance mindset, if you're looking to be successful in whatever endeavor you choose, whether that is entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, or just going on and being, the best employee that you can possibly be. Keep it stupid simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Then do those simple things that you've identified really, really well. And then once you've identified all those simple things and you're doing them well, do them even better. And that consistency over time will bring you success.
Cool. Yeah, consistency's big. So thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for being here with me today. I've really enjoyed our time together.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on, and hope your listeners got some nuggets out of here.
Cool. And to the listeners, thanks for once again tuning in. I really appreciate the fact that when you have some extra time, you choose to spend it with me. I think that's going to be it for today. So this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Until next time.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Energy work to better your business. Hosted by energy healer Jean Border. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey.